Founded more than 2,500 years ago, the Galactic Council has consistently served as the supreme authority for peace and order, settling disagreements between star systems calmly and diplomatically. Its members signify innumerable civilizations. Take into account the Council's lengthy peace, the apex of their accomplishments. But tonight, in the chilly light of the interstellar chamber, peace appeared to be a delicate delusion. At the center of Aldera, the tall, scarlet-skinned warlord of the Tun Empire stood. His voice echoed throughout the amphitheater. Sufficiently, humanity becomes bold and expands unchecked. They dare to venture into territories once held sacred by our ancestors. If we continue to sit idle, they will soon breach our borders, challenging our very legacy. Murmurs rose like an uneasy tide from the delegates seated around him. They were a collection of beings, each from a distinct race, each garbed in robes, armor, or light-weaving clothes that indicated their status and origin. Among them was Zaraph, a figure shrouded in wisps of nebula-like energy representing the Solarian Union. His voice, though quiet, broke through the noise with an uneasy calmness. "Warlord Alx Zara," he intoned. "Are we to abandon 2,500 years of peace because of fear? Humanity's rise is remarkable indeed. However, we have seen their sort before. They will reach their limits, as all others have." A figure on the opposite side of the chamber rose. Kiro, the elder statesman of the Avar. A slim race famed for their logical minds and loyalty to tradition. His silvery skin mirrored the light in the room, his tone measured in the dim light. "Humans are resilient," he acknowledged. "But we ought to be careful not to display hasty aggressiveness. War would ruin decades of alliance building among ourselves. Undoubtedly, another option exists. Aldera would not give in. Humanity has weaponized their quick growth. Each of their new worlds turns into a stronghold, a source of strength, we could say. Their inventiveness outweighs their lack of grace. Their ability in waging war is unparalleled. If we do not act now, they will become unstoppable." A feeling of uneasiness permeated the room. The council was founded on each species' uniqueness, offering various viewpoints. But Alder's remarks resonated deeply. Humanity had risen more quickly than any civilization they had ever seen. Initially, restricted to their remote solar system, humans had built technologies that helped them move across enormous sectors in only a few generations. They tamed harsh environments and flourished where others had perished, all while building up a defense system unmatched in scope. As tensions increased, a new figure raised her voice. A diplomat and tactician, she was a Lurf from the Namari Dominion, admired for her knowledge of novel species. She had previously argued for patience with humanity. Now, she spoke with a cold steadiness. "Humans are not like any other creature we have come upon," she started. "Their ability to adapt is remarkable, not over generations, but over years. This characteristic is what fuels our discomfort. We try to accommodate them into a shape we can comprehend. But if we choose conflict, we must be ready to confront an adversary who will learn from each engagement, who will turn each of our strengths into lessons of their own." Cole, an elder inclined to promote diplomacy, considered her words carefully. "Conflict may not be the solution," he admitted. "But collaboration, perhaps. We may try to bring them into the council with supervision and regulation." Aldera sneered. "Cooperation? You would allow them to have a say in these chambers? You would trust a race that sees the cosmos as their battleground?" He looked to the left. "You're blinded by diplomacy. We are dealing with a disguised predator, species. Its appetite is enticed by words of unity." The chamber fell silent. The final decision fell to Zar Luk, the elder mediator of the council and the member with the longest tenure. Despite his aging voice, he silenced the assembly with a single phrase. "We clearly can't ignore it any longer." The weight of those words hung over the council. He murmured, "The impact of humanity on our worlds demands action. Even I must suggest a controlled attack, a demonstration of power, a reminder of their position. Without the destruction of a full-scale war, the members of the council shifted uneasily. A controlled attack. It had been centuries since such a measure was employed. However, as they looked around, they saw a rising agreement in their colleagues' eyes. This would be a way to send a message without starting a catastrophic war. Aldera smiled with satisfaction. If they oppose this warning, let us be ready to deliver the consequences. Let us remind them why the council reigns supreme. Cole's distressed expression betrayed his concern, but he rose. He was aware that in submitting to the council's ruling, he was allowing violence to occur. But he could not dispute the consensus. Zara finally nodded slowly. The council must act with deeds that uphold, not undermine, peace, he murmured. But let us proceed cautiously. This choice will shape the galaxy for generations. Zar-Luke raised, his hand completing the council's decision. The chamber fell silent, its members watching. Once decided, we must shatter the silence and send a message humanity cannot ignore. At that moment, an old piece fell apart. Across the galaxy, every screen blinked to life, showing the council's symbol, a whirlpool of stars surrounded by ancient representations of unity. On Earth, in colonies, on distant space stations, humanity waited in silence. Then came the words that would echo across history. The Galactic Council denounces the unbridled growth of humanity. Effective immediately, all expansion must cease. Failure to comply will result in swift and decisive action. In the United Earth Command Center, General Leon Harris listened as the final words faded. Around him, urgent discussions erupted. But his eyes remained locked on the screen, absorbing the weight of what had just been declared. Beside him, Dr. Aidan Calloway, the chief strategist, turned with a knowing expression. "They've underestimated us," he murmured. "They think they can scare us, but we'll show them that humanity will not kneel." Harris gave a slow, grim nod, his mouth set in determination. His thoughts already calculating every battle scenario, every advantage they could leverage. This was not just another crisis. This was the turning point in human history. Silence fell as Harris lifted his hand. "Perhaps one day, the Council will grow weary of our presence in the galaxy," he said. "We had hoped it would not come to this, but we were always prepared. Humanity will not bend. We will not break. We will stand." An electric current of determination ran through the room. Every officer understood the weight of his words. Humanity had been young once, eager to learn, willing to adapt, but never weak. Now the Watchers had spoken, and humanity would answer. "Mobilize the fleet," Harris ordered. "Let them know. We do not run. We do not hide." Across the stars, humanity prepared to fight for its place among the heavens. Harris stared down at his dimly lit room. His clenched hands already sensed the pulsation of the impending struggles. He would make sacrifices. He was motivated to demonstrate that he was without illusions about the difficulties ahead. But he felt it. A strong certainty. A force the Council would later come to regret. Tackling it with fresh resolve, he rose, prepared to guide humanity into its defining moment. The human fleet emerged from the empty void like silent thunder, sleek, ships gleaming beneath far-off stars. They advanced toward the front lines of the Council. At the lead was the UN Valkyr Humani. On board, Admiral Marcus Reeve, a seasoned strategist renowned for his ruthless efficiency, stood ready. For him, this was planned brutality. This battle wasn't just about defense. It was an opportunity to shatter the Council's illusion of invincibility. Thunderstrike operation. Begin. Reeves' quiet but intense command echoed across the bridge. His crew moved like a well-oiled machine, hands flying across consoles with precision. The fleet began to scatter, each unit moving in perfect synchronization. Their destination, Outpost Haven Prime. For years, Haven Prime was considered invulnerable, a stronghold of the Council's power at the outskirts of human space. The Council had believed no species would dare challenge it. They were wrong. Humanity's armada moved with deadly intent, thrusters humming in silence. Alarms blared aboard Haven Prime. Officers scrambled, struggling to make sense of the approaching fleet. Watching from his command deck, Warlord Alax narrowed his eyes at the approaching ships. A sneer formed on his lips. Humans. Foolish aggression, he muttered. They advanced recklessly, just as expected. But then, something changed. The human fleet split into smaller, agile formations. They moved with a precision that unsettled him. Rockets launched, but not in a traditional bombardment. Instead, swarms of drones surged forward, weaving through. The station's automated defenses, turrets fired in desperation. But the drones were too fast. Within seconds, the perimeter was breached. Alax clenched his fists. "Power to the internal shields," he barked. But even as defenses activated, something gnawed at him. Humanity's attack was far more sophisticated than expected. On the bridge of the Valkyr Humani, Admiral Reeve watched with satisfaction. The first phase was a success. Phase 2, begin. Stealth pods launched, securing to key points along Haven Prime's hull. Inside each pod, elite human soldiers prepared for battle, adaptive armor, advanced weaponry, specialized for space combat. Their mission: disable Haven Prime's control center. A statement needed to be made. A message delivered. Inside the corridors of Haven Prime, chaos erupted. Council soldiers fought desperately, but they were unprepared. The human strike teams moved with deadly efficiency, using non-lethal weapons to incapacitate rather than kill. A calculated show of restraint. From his B command center, Warlord Alax watched